Alright guys, welcome back to another one of our beginner series episodes today. In today's episode we're looking at the driver, how we set up, how we hit it, what we're trying to do to make sure we hit those nice consistent drives. If that's something you want to know, stay tuned. Alright guys, so to start it all off, let's talk about the very first thing that we should consider when setting up for driver. Now, many of you might think this is the setup or positioning in your swing. The very first thing you should think about before you set up for your driver is how tall you should tee that ball up in the ground, or how high up in the ground you should tee that ball. Now this is the number one thing I see with beginners who don't even consider it really when they're going out to play golf for the first time is how high up should I tee the golf ball? Should it be well and truly above my driver head? Should it be lower below the face so that I can get it more in the middle? Well, we're going to find out what it should actually be. Now, when we're setting up to driver, guys, we want to actually have half the ball sitting above the driver face. So that looks like this. Now, I'll put it up on the screen so you can see it a lot clearer as well. But the reason for that, guys, is we actually want to encourage a more upward sweeping motion off the tee. We don't want to come down and smother the ball and then hit the driver down into the ground. It's not an iron, guys. We don't want to hit the ground with driver. Now, I'll explain in a little bit more detail a bit later on what the actual driver swing does, but when you're setting up the driver and you're out on the golf course, very first thing you should think about is getting about half that golf ball above your driver head before you hit your shot. So like you saw a couple of weeks back in that video in terms of setup for irons, you saw that we wanted to get that ball right in the middle of our stance and we wanted to have our feet about shoulder width apart. So with driver, guys, it is a little bit different. The way we want to go about setting up for our drives is we actually want to get our front foot lined up with the ball. So as a right-handed golfer, we want to line that up with our left foot. For a lefty, any lefties out there, we line it up with the right foot. Everything's completely mirrored. So a nice drill that I go to make sure that I'm in the right position here when I am setting up for driver in terms of my setup with my feet is I want to make sure that I set up with my feet close together. I'm going to line that ball up all the way down in line with my front foot, and then from here I'll put the club in behind the ball and I'm just going to step back with my right foot. So what that does, guys, is that actually gets us in the right position for our front foot. Now, a lot of the time for newer and more beginner golfers, you'll want to get in with that more so in the middle of our stance, or when we do this drill, you'll go back with the right foot and then you'll move forward with the left foot. You need to try and get used to the idea, guys, that we want to line this up with the front foot. And now I'll explain to you why we want to do that. If we treat the golf swing like a circle, like an arc, when we set up to the golf ball, if we have absolutely no weight transfer during our swing, our club's going to hit the ground right at the bottom section, right there where we set up, right in the middle. Now we know during our golf swing, as we swing the club back, our weight transfers to our back foot, so at the top of our backswing, I can actually lift up my front foot. Now, the first thing we do during our downswing, guys, is we shift our weight forward. So we get that weight loaded onto that forward foot so that we can turn through the golf swing real nice like that, the way you see all the professionals do it on TV. Now what that actually does in terms of delivering the golf club to the ball is that actually pushes that bottoming out section forward. Because it's an arc, guys, if our weight stays centered and it doesn't move at all, our club will come back, touch the bottom there and then move back up from there on the way out of that swing. But because as that club's coming back down into the ball, our weight's on our forward foot, what that does is that actually moves our bottoming out section forward. Now that's why we want to make sure with our irons we get it in the middle of our stance, because as you see on TV, all the greatest golfers in the world, they always hit the ball first, then the ground. However, with driver, we don't actually want to hit the ground. We want to get that club head moving up into the ball. And in order for us to do that, we need to move that ball positioning further forward in our stance, so that that club has time to come down to the bottom and then start moving its way back up. One of those things that you can do to prevent that club from just hitting the ground beforehand and then bouncing back up into the ball is we get our stance nice and wide. We get a little bit of spine tilt there, guys. And what I mean by spine tilt is if I'm perfectly straight in my setup position like this, perfectly straight, you'll see how this club stays parallel. Now when we get a bit of spine tilt, what that does is you'll see I'll bend back a little bit here and this part of the club is actually pointing up further than this club, this part of the club. That's what we mean by spine tilt. All right, guys, so once I've gotten the right positioning of my feet in terms of the ball, we need to talk about how far or how close we need to stand away from the ball. It's a little bit different to our irons. Now with our irons, we wanted to have that nice fist to about fist and a half away from the ball. Driver, you're allowed to be a bit further away. Now, in all our golf swings, we want to make sure we're in a comfortable position. So when I set up to driver, I take my stance first of all. I'll make sure that my front foot's in line with the ball, and I step away from it. When I set up from here, guys, you'll see that I'm standing a little bit taller than I am when I'm over the ball with my irons. This is because with a longer club, it forces us to get a little bit further back. But the main thing that you'll see here, guys, is my arms feel like they're in a position where they're just hanging there. Sure, we're holding the club, but I don't feel like I'm reaching up high in an uncomfortable position here, or I'm hanging up down low here. I'm further away from the ball, yes, but my arms still hang in a nice comfortable position. Now, if you want a physical boundary on how far away you should feel, this will be a good indication for you, because we're about 1-2 fists away. That's generally a good distance to go and measure yourself on how far away from your body your club should feel. But for all you golfers out there who are more of a feel type learner, you want to feel like your arms are just hanging down by your side. All they're doing is holding the club there. They should feel nice and comfortable where they're gripping the club. A good drill that you can do to sum it all up and bring it all down, make it nice and easy, is when you set up, you want to get up in that nice position where our front foot's in line with the ball. And all you're going to do is take some practice swings where you're focusing on trying to hit the top of the tee. Because in the end, if you can get your driver to hit the top of the tee like that, that's where you're going to start seeing shots coming out from the middle of the face. Because that's where the golf ball sits. Golf ball sits on the top of the tee. We want to be delivering the bottom of our club to the top of the tee so that we make contact right in the middle there. All right, everyone, I hope that kind of gave you a little bit of an idea on the best way to go forward in terms of setting up for your driver and just getting a general idea on what the actual movement behind your driver swing actually does. Now, in no way, shape or form does this actually benefit you more than going to get a lesson yourself. You're always going to see your best benefits from going and seeing your local PGA professional, getting a lesson. Everyone's swings are different, so that means yours is going to differ from mine versus anyone else that I see in here. So the best thing you can do is go get a lesson. Your local PGA professional is going to be able to help you tailor your swing to your driver. Now, if you're enjoying these beginner videos, guys, like and subscribe to all the videos, and definitely try and get out on the golf course and put some of this stuff into practice, because that's where you're going to see your biggest benefits, is when you get out on the golf course. So I hope you guys all enjoyed. Look forward to seeing you in the next video, and enjoy your golf.